deserve to see you. They've had a hard week. Or they've had a good week. Everybody, a cat for everybody. Hi, I'm Hazel. It's Saturday today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I have been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week, we got lots of new information about Dragonflight as well as Season 4. I'm going to start with the juicy and the most exciting bit, which was the profession post about Dragonflight professions. So Blizzard issued a substantial blog post write-up talking about professions in Dragonflight and specifically about crafting qualities. This is, I cannot emphasize to you enough that this is worth reading, and it's worth reading on its own and not on like a second monitor or on your phone while you're taking your dog out while you're listening to a podcast, you know. They have a lot to say, there's a lot to digest, and it would be a shame for people to get upset about something that they didn't fully understand just yet. I might get into more depth on this topic somewhere else. It kind of deserves its own video, and I'm not going to summarize the whole post here, but I will say that having read it, I'm feeling pretty good about professions in Dragonflight, but also my biggest number one takeaway thing I'm excited about based on this post is having budget stuff available on the auction house. Having like these lower quality crafts that are presumably a lot cheaper, you know, they take less materials, they're more accessible to make, they should be less expensive, available. One of my favorite things about Late Legion was having potions of prolonged power available dirt cheap, because it wasn't always the best potion. Sometimes it was. It wasn't always the best potion, but it was so available that you could just kind of sling them for anything and not feel too bad that you're using potions in like LFR or Alt Raid Night or something like that. I really like the idea of having budget versions of consumables to play around with in case it is like, you know, Alt Night, or you're carrying a friend in like a low key, or you're just like doing World Quest or something. You know, sometimes you want to use consumables, but you don't want to use like your best stuff, and having lower quality versions of the stuff available should kind of fill that niche, because sometimes you don't need the real good stuff. Same thing goes for lower qualities of crafted armor. It sounds like we might be able to get some pretty functional gear for pretty cheap. And then the really profitable stuff is only going to be needed by like the best of the best players. It may be very viable to give your alts a big item level boost by just getting them into crafted gear, which is something, you know, that I've always been happy whenever crafted gear can fill that role. The problem with this quality system, and the pain point that I think a lot of people have kind of honed in on, is that there are always going to be people who want to min-max even in areas where it's not even close to required. Even if you can accomplish your goal and defeat the boss without using the best of the best stuff, it's very much a natural kind of gamer mindset to want to use the very best stuff and to feel entitled to be able to easily get the very best stuff, because for a lot of people it just feels bad to do a fight without using every advantage that you could have gotten. I believe that for people that think like that, this system is going to feel kind of exorbitant and expensive and difficult to manage. If you expect to always be able to easily get the best things, then it doesn't sound like you're going to like crafting in Dragonflight. It's entirely possible that the really good stuff does eventually end up being affordable, because lots and lots of people want to make gold with professions, which means there's lots of competition among the suppliers. I also think that part of the backlash to this post is around the fact that it feels complicated, because there's a lot of new information here to process. To me, it doesn't feel like it's being complicated for its own sake, and I don't think that some complexity is necessarily a bad thing. At its core, the best games, including WoW, are kind of complicated, and part of what makes them really satisfying is this feeling that you've become literate in the systems of that game, and you can, you know, you could explain them to new players, you can navigate them to try to get the best benefits for yourself, and you kind of forget the effort it took you to learn things once you already know them. I don't think that the profession system is necessarily more complicated than a lot of the things that we already have in game, but we already know the stuff that we have, and we haven't had a chance to really learn and memorize and internalize this new stuff yet. I think with time to try it out and play it and kind of get used to it and memorize it, it's going to become another layer of sort of baseline knowledge for people, and I don't think it's going to feel very complicated or difficult then. I've also heard a few concerns that there may be too much RNG involved in making the best stuff, and reading through the whole post, it does not sound like RNG is going to be a major influence. It's going to be involved, especially if you lean heavily into the inspiration stat, but that if you want to make the very best stuff, you will be able to do so without relying on getting lucky. The problem is that anytime that they introduce any amount of RNG into a game mechanic, it really depends on what the player expected in the first place, because once upon a time, if you expected to have no benefit, and then you get lucky and you get an extra benefit, then wow, you're lucky, congratulations, happy birthday. Feels good, right? And that's what game developers are effectively looking for, but over time, especially when as testers and as an audience that the development team works with to like figure out what they should and shouldn't do to the game, if you feel like you are entitled to, or you feel like you should get the higher outcome every single time, then that role doesn't become a benefit, it becomes a downside. And it's the same thing, it's just a matter of the way it's framed. And I think that's kind of an increasing problem with the way that we view games in an era where we have a lot of control and insight over how they're developed. It's really easy to look at the thing that they're making and to see kind of into the inner workings of it, and then to be like, well, just give me all of the stuff. We won't know for sure until we've had some time with it, but I think it overall looks really promising, and I'm excited to get to play with it when eventually it becomes sort of testable, and then of course later when Dragonflight comes out. Other news, a quick little tidbit that apparently Blizzard has confirmed that BlizzCon is coming back. They're committing to having it back in 2023. That is still quite a ways away, but it does feel kind of promising that they're not giving up on it forever. I'm still real unclear on whether or not I would go again. I think it's going to depend on how I feel and how things are when it comes around again in 2023. But there's always been something a little special about BlizzCon, and it would be a shame if that was gone forever. Speaking of Season 4 stuff, we have learned about some currency changes. So this is a change to a system that was announced but hasn't gone in yet. So if you're a little lost, I don't blame you. I had to go back and look up what the system was in the first place. But the very short gist of it, next season, starting in August, we're going to have like rotating raids. One raid a week will be a fated raid. These are the Shadowlands raids. You do the fated raid, you get better loot, and you're also going to get these dinar currencies. Each character can get a maximum of 3 dinars, and then you're done on that character. Doesn't matter how much else you do, you're only getting 3 dinars. It's not your only way to get raid loot, but it is a way to determine 3 specific pieces of loot for that character. So it's basically to help you get like your BIS trinkets or weapon or like a special ring or something that would be too RNG to kind of farm otherwise, especially with rotating raids. You can basically guarantee yourself 3 pieces of loot through this dinar system. So that's the system. The change that they're making before it goes live, which is a good time to make it, they're adjusting it so that you can get those currency items earlier, talking about getting all of them by week 4 or 5, as opposed to what it used to be, which was longer than that. And also building in catch-up from the start, so that players that come into the season late do not need to kill as many bosses to get their currency, which makes sense. That's very similar to the lines that we've had with lots and lots of other systems, where you come in late and you don't have to overcome this insurmountable wall to get caught up to play, especially because it's going to be such a short season. They have also clarified that next season, completing plus 20 keys will give dungeon portals, including to the places like Iron Docks, Return to Karazhan, Mechagon, that are not Shadowlands dungeons. You can earn a Hero's Path portal to those places by timing plus 20 keys. Those have never been account-wide. They are just a per-character portal, but it's nice that they're adding them for those old areas. Also, Season 4, Valor and Conquest will both be reset with the season, so if you want to like buy boxes to send to your alts and stuff, you'll want to do that before the end of the season. They're going to reset both of those currencies, but when Season 4 starts, there will be no cap to Valor at all. You can grind as much Valor as fast as you want. There will be a Conquest cap for the start of the season, but they're going to lift that cap later on in Season 4. Presumably not that later on in Season 4, because it's going to be kind of short. It makes sense with a shorter season of them kind of letting everybody get their gear a little bit earlier, because people will have goals to achieve and there won't be that much calendar time to do them, so that makes sense. They also addressed Cosmic Flux availability, or at least they acknowledge that they are thinking about it. Breaking news alert! They are adding in a Cosmic Flux pouch that you can send to your alts, so problem solved. Jumping back to Dragonflight news, I'm all over the place today. Rogue and Hunter talent trees were just posted as I recorded this. They should be up on the Wowhead Dragonflight talent calculator. Hopefully by the time the video goes out, I will link the calculator down below if you want to click around the Rogue and Hunter talents and see what the spec options are going to look like for Dragonflight. And Dragonflight Alpha, not up yet, but it hit the BNet launcher, so there's no like game client to download. Nobody has Alpha yet, but it is a good indicator that it is coming soon. My week this week, I am now 2 of 3 for Necro Ray eggs. I only need 1 more of those bad boys left, and then I can finally make my characters not Necrolords anymore. You don't have to be Necrolord to farm eggs, but you do get more chances because Neutral Callings will give a Necro Ray possible box for Necrolords. I'm now slinging all of my characters and all of my willpower towards trying to grind the Gilded Waiter out of Bastion treasures. It's not going well so far, but I believe in my soul that the game is going to give it up before I do. And then the other thing that I did this week is I finally updated my DBM voice pack. So if you use it or you used to use it and you were waiting for an update, that is now available. And if you don't use it and you've never heard about it, don't worry about it. Just live the rest of your life and be happy without my like cringe-inducing cursed voice yelling at you in your keys. You don't need it. You're okay. And questions for this week. Max Funk wants to know, any plans to make short guides for these Season 4 dungeon bosses we haven't seen in a while? Grimrail, Kara, etc. So, Mechagon and Tazavesh, and actually Karazhan as well, are all dungeons that I've already made boss guides for, and I don't think that the mechanics are going to be meaningfully different, so I'm probably just going to reboost those and, I don't know, pin them on the page somewhere, even if they are kind of old. But Grimrail and Iron Docks are both actually a really good idea that I would like to do. Like to do and will do, sometimes different things, but it's on the list. And then Just a Ducky wants to know, I was wondering what add-ons do you use for collecting and keeping track of progress towards goals? Example being pet collecting from vendors, old raids, world drops, etc. So I will recommend one add-on and then 2 websites. The add-on is All the Things. It's a little overwhelming at first. I did a little blurb ages ago about how I set it up initially that I will link in the description of this video. But basically that's an in-game tool that can look at your collection, it can show you what you're missing, it can show you where the things that you're missing are. Like you can go into a zone and it'll show you, you have 55 of 72 things collected in this zone. You can opt into or out of different categories. It's a lot and it's potentially life-ruining if you're, you know, an addictive personality and you like collecting, but it's the best tool that I've found for quantifying your collection in-game. And then for fan sites, for external websites, for looking up your collection and spotting all the holes and all the data, I like Simple Armory, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, and Data for Azeroth. Both websites where you can look up your character and then see your collections laid out in different formats with lots of fun stats. And then Pellin wants to know, do you think we will see white/gray transmog action before Dragonflight? I think they would have announced it if it were to be with Season 4 and or 927, but maybe they'll surprise us. I like your optimism. I doubt it. I feel like, and I don't know anything, but I feel like the focus for 927 is going to be to make the auction house work. The region-wide commodities thing sounds like a gigantic change that has every possibility to break things, and they really cannot have the auction house be broken, especially around the launch of a new season. So I feel like that's kind of the goal for 927, and we would have heard about it by now if they were going to do the white items be moggable there. My best guess is Dragonflight pre-patch for that change, but I would love to be proven wrong. And that's been the week. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions for a news video, please pop it in the comments and include the word question to help me find it. Thank you so much for watching. Check out a stream sometime if you'd like to see more of me. Appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye. You stand up for 2 minutes in this place, and you lose your chair. You're not even sitting, you're pancaked. You're busy. You've moved on with your day. Excuse me.